Hey,
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Inspired Books Group coaching call. Today is May 28th, 2024, and hope you all enjoyed your holiday weekend. Uh, we went to a class reunion over in Iowa,
Oh,
another trip to Iowa,
wow.
like we haven't had enough of them. And yeah, we did some yard work on Friday, went to the class reunion Saturday, rested on Sunday, and then Monday did some more yard work. So little fun, little work, but nice weather, really the nice cooler weather. So that was great. So yeah, anyway, so hopefully a couple more will join. We had one that just had to hop off because she had a surprise visitor, and don't think Diane will be on yet. So not sure about the others. We'll go ahead and get started. Let's just check in with each of you. Where are you guys at? What's going on?
Well, I'm still promoting, um, getting the word out about the book and encouraging people to buy extra copies and get them out to their friends and family and coworkers. And I've been handing them out to people. I was doing some voice therapy and got into a couple of conversations with the gal, which is part of voice therapy, is you have conversations so she can see the tonality of your voice and where it breaks and things like that. And so I chose to talk about Jesus during those times. She's not a believer, and young. I don't know. I think she's maybe late 20s, early 30s at most. Young children, and so then I told her about my book, and told her the title of it, and she says, "Oh, what does that mean?" And so I told her about the prophecies, and the fulfillment of prophecies, and what was coming ahead, and everybody needs to read it. And she said, "Oh, yeah, I want to read it." So, yeah.
Cool.
So I figured she would never buy it, so I brought her a copy. My last session there, I brought her a copy and said, "Okay, now will you read this?" And she said, "I'll read it." I said, "Okay." Yeah. So I'm just doing things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of um, person to person, and email and that type of thing. And now I'm starting to seek the Lord for the next book. So I've got several ideas and things that the Lord has given me at different points in time.
Hmm.
It's interesting though. I keep getting these really cool ideas for books that are all very similar to the one I just wrote.
Oh,
Yeah, like I was doing some studies on the end times, and I got this idea for a book. Don't miss the boat. Relating to that the end times will be like the days of Noah
yeah.
and all the people that missed the boat there. Yeah. So, and then the latest one that I just got yesterday was the next great Exodus,
Oh.
connected to the original Exodus. So I
Hmm.
don't know. I may write kind of a little series of short books,
Yeah.
that tell different stories. It's the same concept but different stories. I don't know. I don't have confirmation from the Lord yet
Yeah.
on any of
Yeah.
that. So.
Are you looking at doing any podcasts or anything like that?
I did a podcast for a long time. I think I've got, I don't know, maybe 100 episodes or something on there, here a couple of years ago. Uh, Time is the difficult thing. Church is really, really busy right now. I'm only
Yeah.
supposed to be part-time at the church, but yeah, part-time at the church is like 40 hours a week. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, between that and then I have another ministry to men, and so yeah. So I'm not getting, I don't really have the time to do a regular. That's what I found out, was that I just
Yeah.
didn't have the time to do a regular podcast. I am starting to formulate some videos that I'm going to do uh, on YouTube. I'm going to do a video on this latest book, and that, just sort of a teaser type of video
Hmm.
that has some good information in it, so people would want to watch it and share it with other people. But
Yeah.
and then I've got some real crazy ideas for videos, like the zombie apocalypse is real. It's actually in the Bible. The aliens are among us. Not aliens from other planets, but
Among Us. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm going to do some things like
Yeah.
that are just sort of shocker titles, and then do
Yeah.
some
That'd be good.
actual teaching out of the Bible.
Yeah.
I've been putting a list of those together. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was thinking more along the lines of being a guest on a podcast.
Oh yeah. Just no time to reach out and investigate and look and
Yeah.
find, find. I've been on a number of podcasts, over the last couple of years, just people I encountered, and they asked if I'd come on and be on the podcast with them, but it's all been just happenstance,
Hmm.
more than me doing the research. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Well, good. You got some great ideas. I can't wait to see if they all come to
Yeah.
be
See what
reality.
happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Cool. Well, Lena, what do you got going on?
Uh, good news and bad news. I wouldn't say. Okay, okay. Let's start with the good. I've made my edits with the formatter. She's come back with the edits. So I've gone through the edits that she's done. Just a couple of edits that were not done properly. So that's in preparation for the Amazon launch. And I got an email back from one of the local Christian bookstores that said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we will not be distributing your book." So I'm thankful that at least they got back to me, so I know that it's a no rather than, hanging me like, in the mid-air.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so yeah, I think I'm just gonna push that aside and just soldier on to get my book published on Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Did they give you a reason why?
They just say that they're busy with like I think they're having a promotion right now. So they say that based on their priorities, they just can't do it. Yeah.
Mm.
That's a very polite way of saying no.
Yeah.
Like, probably your book just doesn't cut it. Yeah, well, it's my first book. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Good, good. Yeah, well, that'll fit right into my message today, so good. Hi, Annette. Do you got anything to share today? What you up to? How are things going?
Sorry, not ignoring you.
Nope.
My phone's in a different place than my Bluetooth. uh, I have nothing new.
Okay.
Nothing new. I just got back from a state convention for
Oh,
Texas, and that was a great experience. Met people uh, and invited people, got people's name to have on my show to interview,
oh, good.
and kind of did some things like that, but still working on everything that I was working on by getting my book back up on Amazon and going through my marketing and getting it. Really, I just need to start posting, which I hadn't done yet, but this week has got to be the week to just start testing my social media to get people interested in the parenting program and
Hmm.
even in the book. And so what I keep listening and hearing is, it's the time element. We have all these great ideas, and it's just, I guess I'm still recovering from actually the trip. There was some very long days. I told my husband now I know why they have bills passed in Congress that people didn't read. I go like, they don't give you enough time to read them, and it's so much to read, and human nature is weird. Most people just want to hurry up and be done and get out, and they just don't. I mean, we had a session where we had to come back at 9 o'clock at night
Oh,
for a vote,
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and so we were, uh, everything starts like at 8 o'clock. I mean, first thing in the morning. There's not like a lot of lag time, and it was just very busy, very informative, very helpful. Since I have a fiction book, also get ideas about a plot line that involves a little more um, information about what goes on behind the government. I was thinking about one of my characters. And so I mean, it's just busy, but like I said, nothing to celebrate right now, just still going through the processes.
Yeah, well, no, that's good. I mean, you said you got some names of people that could be on your show, so I mean, that's progress right there. So that's your networking. That's always important.
Yes, and one of them is the senator of Texas. So
Ooh,
that
well,
was
look at you hobnobbing.
yes, I mean, I'm hobnobbing, and
Are.
I mean, he wrote his personal cell on the back of his card and said, "Get with me. I'm going to look at my staff." I said, things that's going on about the family that will help that the public should be informed about, because we need to know that parents need to know that politics does involve them, whether they think it does or not, because things that go on up here will determine what goes on in their neighborhoods. What do they really have the right to do and not to do? Because we kind of circulate, like CPS became a big deal. Don't spank your children. CPS going to come and get you. I said, well, they have to come and get me. But what does the law allow? Because a lot of I call it rumors goes around, and parents don't do their job because of others that put fear in them as far as what they're to do, where children are basically running the house because parents are afraid to do anything, to discipline them. So he said, I'm going to talk to my staff and I'm going to see what we got going on here. And he said, here's my number. Get back with me, be glad to be on your show, whatever. So it's nice.
Well, that's a win. That is a
A
win.
huge win.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, seriously, because if you can get connected with, lawmakers, people in that arena, that can potentially, be influence and are on your side, that's huge. That's really huge. So good for you. Way to network, talk to people. All right. Okay, well, today I wanted to talk to you about handling criticism and rejection as an author, especially a Christian author, because Christians are always under attack, especially nowadays. And so, yeah, so Lena, when you're telling me that, I'm like, well, that kind of fits right into what I want to talk about today. So, yeah, I mean, have any of you faced that, like as an author? Have you been criticized, or have you gotten really bad reviews on your books if you've published? Has anybody faced that kind of attack at all? Rod, you've written a lot of books. Have you faced that?
Yeah. Yeah. Different points in time and different types of situations. When I was writing books in the network marketing industry, I got a lot of that, a lot of criticisms and critiques, and everybody's an expert and everybody knows better. And it's been interesting. I think I've actually had less critiques with the Christian books. A few, here and there that have I get the anonymous letter or email periodically that I don't even know who the person is, and they've got some critique of something I said. So yeah, I just sort of ignore most of those, but unless the Lord directs me to
Yeah,
pay attention to it. Yeah.
good. All right. Anybody else? All right. Well,
Well,
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Annette.
I always have a delay because I have to walk back to my phone. Uh, I have, I got a one of those 1 stars,
Yeah.
when I published my book, but there was no reason why.
Yeah.
It was just like, but it just kept your average at the top from being 5 star.
Yep.
I mean, it was like the only one that was like that.
Yep.
And you just wonder, I said, well, they must not have been Christians. They don't like Christians anything. So they just gave it a 1 just because.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So first of all, when you get criticism or rejection or, bad reviews, it's important to take a look at, first of all, like what's the nature of the criticism and what's the source of it? Where's it coming from? When people criticize you or you get a bad review or whatever, it doesn't define who you are. It's not your identity or anything like that. Um, Oftentimes, especially like 1-star reviews on your books, there are people who, um, I think that's just their job in life is to go around and leave 1-star reviews, but then they don't leave comments. And quite honestly, when I'm looking at a product on Amazon and there's a 1-star review, but there's no comment, I completely ignore it. It has no value to me whatsoever. Because if you're not going to tell me why you're rating it a 1-star, then clearly you had no reason to rate it out of 1-star. And I think most people probably think that if they're not going to actually give a reason for it, then it's pretty obvious that they did it probably out of the meanness of their heart. So, look at that. And it reminded me of this scripture too. And it's 1 Samuel 8, verse 7. And it says, "And the Lord said to Samuel, obey the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them." So especially if you are getting criticism on your message or, oh, there's Christian trying to tell me how to live or, any kind of thing um, that's focused towards your faith, then keep that scripture in mind because they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting God. A lot of it is too, people are hurt, and the saying hurt people hurt people. And so, like I had a 1-star review I have shared with you guys, a long, long time ago, but what did she rate it at? I don't think it was a 1. It was a 3. I don't know. 3, maybe it was a 1. I can't remember. But it was this really, really long review of how I'm a good writer, she's very good writer, all this kind of stuff and everything, but it was very traumatizing to me and my cat. My cat could tell that I was traumatized because, she talks about hate a lot in the book, which was not true at all. I talked about how I felt during a certain time, and that was like, I might have mentioned the word hate 2 times in the book or something. Like she talks about hate a lot in the book. And it was just so like, as you read it, you're like, clearly this woman's been traumatized and needs help. And, and she read the whole book. And it's like, if you're so traumatized, why did you keep reading it? And she even said, I kept reading it because she's a good writer or whatever. Well, why did you keep reading it if it was so traumatizing to you? And so, something like that, I'm like, wow, this woman clearly has some issues that she needs help with. And, so I just prayed for her because there's something horribly wrong in her life. It just, I don't know, was so, you have to consider the source, what's really going on, where's it coming from, who's leaving it. Um, is it some random person that you don't know? Is it one of your best friends or family people that are leaving you a really bad review, or just the attacks, like you can have friends and family, like, what do you want to do that for? Why don't you get a real job? Things like that. Well, again, where's that coming from? they don't understand what God's called you to. Maybe there's some jealousy there. You know, they see you as being successful. A lot of times people look at authors as being these really successful people or something because you've published a book. Well, you maybe have not sold a single copy, but you've got a published book and you're an author, and people look at that and they can be jealous of that. So there can be a lot of jealousy behind it. Maybe they feel like they're failures, you know, whatever. And so when you get those criticisms or, you know, comments, things like that, start with, where's this really coming from? You know, take a look at that and remember the scripture, 1 Samuel 8:7, that they're really not rejecting you, they're rejecting God. Like I said, especially if if they're attacking you as a Christian, or they're attacking your message that is about Christianity in some way, then they're really rejecting God in that sense. The second thing is then to embrace that as a growth opportunity, because one thing you want to do is take a look at what was said. Is there any truth to what they've said? You know, maybe they've called you puffed up or something, and maybe you have to look at yourself. Maybe you did kind of walk around a little puffed up at times, you know. Or maybe, you know, they just didn't like your content at all. Did you put something in there that maybe could have been worded differently, you know, and it was kind of offensive to certain people or something. So it is a growth opportunity there. It's like, is there any truth to what they're saying at all? So you can pray into it and ask God to reveal to you if there's anything truthful to it. Now, sometimes it's so super obvious that this is just garbage, you know, but if it's something that, you know, they really kind of expand on some things, it's like, okay, well, is there any truth to this? And even if there is no truth to anything they're saying, just the growth opportunity of handling rejection, because not everybody's going to love you. No matter how lovable you are, not everybody's going to love you. And no matter how great a book you have, not everybody's going to love your book. And so it's an opportunity to grow in that area. Just letting God reveal some things to us. And then this kind of goes along with that, is reflecting on that feedback that you got. I kind of wrap these in together into the growth mindset, but reflecting on it and praying into it. And then also, like Rod said, one of the things is, the next one is respond with grace. If you respond at all, there are times where, like when I've ran an ad to promote my workshop, and then I'll get some just, oh, these Christians, da, 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 da. I'll just delete the comment. I have the control on Facebook to delete people's comments. Why? Because it doesn't need to be out there to negatively affect other people. I don't even respond to the person, because 9 times out of 10 on social media, you're not going to change somebody's mind. Somebody like that, they're just there because they're angry people and they don't know the Lord, or, you know, they have some hurt. And so rather than entertain it, I just delete it. Now, if it's, you know, an email that comes to you, like Rod said, you know, do you respond to it? Do you not respond to it? Yeah, you might want to pray about it before you do. Best thing is not to just react and, you know, and, you know, you're going to end up probably saying something you're going to regret. The other thing is, I've seen a lot of people, as I've read through some reviews, and there's negative reviews on, not mine, but I mean, just like when I'm looking for a product or something, and the company or the person will respond and they're like, thank you for pointing that out. You know, we'll consider that in the future, or, you know, something like that. Or, you know, or thank you for your insight into this. You know, there's a way you can respond by being gracious and acknowledging their voice. And if there's any validity at all to what they're saying or potentially could be or something, maybe you respond in that way. So there's times to respond, there's times not to respond. And if you do respond, to be very careful on how you do respond to it. The next thing would be focus on your calling. So people can criticize you for what you're doing, but as I said before, they don't know your conversations with the Lord. They don't know what God has called you to. And so if you are being obedient to what God has told you to do, like Rod, you're seeking the Lord on what is the next book to write. Doesn't matter if I agree with the book that you choose to write. If this is what God's telling you to do, then you need to focus on that. What's God calling you to do? And it doesn't matter what other people think, because in the end, we have to be obedient to what God is asking us to do. And so again, you get those criticisms, you get those attacks or bad reviews or whatever, and you can just say, yeah, well, they didn't have that conversation with God. They weren't in the room with me at the time, so they don't understand it. It's just a misunderstanding or something, and just brush it off. Also, you can revisit your goals and your visions. Is what you're doing still in line with what you had originally intended it? Did you sidetrack yourself? Making, that your vision, your goals or whatever are in alignment with that calling that you have, or that assignment that you have from the Lord, and making sure that you are on track for what you had originally intended to do. So, if you have a certain audience that you want to reach, are you reaching them? Are you really serving them? And so again, it kind of then goes back to what's being said to you. What are people responding? Is there something I can take away from it to realign myself or better my message, and reach the people that was originally my goal to reach anyways. Then the next step would be, or another thing to consider is keep improving your craft. So if somebody is criticizing your writing abilities, we've talked about this last week, and because Rod had brought it up when I was gone, about there are gifted writers and there's learned writers. Well, if people want to criticize my writing, they're probably going to be pretty accurate on it, because I don't consider myself, a naturally gifted writer. I have to learn it. But the thing with writing is the more you do it, the better you get at it. And so practice makes perfect. Well, I don't know about perfect, but you're going to improve anything you do. You think about an athlete. If they don't practice at all, they're not going to get better. But the more they practice, the better they get at their sport. And writing is no different. The more you write, the better you're going to be at writing. And so if somebody is criticizing your writing, then, don't get offended. Just, think about, well, yeah, there's always room for improvement. Maybe you want to take a writing course, like a course, class, maybe through a university or something that is for writing specifically, learning how to, develop sentences better, or, whatever it is, just honing in the craft of actual writing. So, keep that in mind, maybe there's something there. And then of course, be encouraged by scripture. Again, there's the one that I shared today, but, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, whatever, go back to scripture, especially if you're being attacked, find scripture that uplifts you. What does God say about you? So, because sometimes those criticisms really are hurtful. And I wish Reg was on the call today, because I know that he mentioned that, he struggled with, people, I think, I don't know what they said to him, but I think that he struggled with, people not really accepting him wanting to write books or something. And that can be hard. I mean, we want our friends and family to accept what we're doing. And our friends and family are the ones that are always or usually the most critical of us. The ones you love are the ones that hurt you the most too. So, um, and you just where are you going to find your strength and your comfort? Go to the Lord, go into his word, try to find, scripture that is going to be uplifting to you and minister to you, to get through those times. And then of course celebrate, you know, your victories, your, little victories, big victories, whatever they are. Like Annette, what you shared today, that's a victory. I mean, celebrate that. You made a connection with a senator. That's not many people even get through the front door, and he's the one that said to you, keep in touch. So that's a victory. And when we, celebrate those victories, if you get a chapter written, celebrate that victory. You get your book, each phase of it, you get it edited, that's a victory. You get your cover design, that's a victory. Just coming up with a title for your book, that's a victory. These are all little small things to celebrate. And even if you're not on the schedule that you want to be on, as you move forward with each step, those are victories. And if it's something like, along the line, maybe somebody criticized you like, well, I thought you said you're writing a book, what's taking you so long? Well, have they written a book? It's usually the people who've not done the stuff before, the ones that they're so free with their advice, right? So, just remind yourself, yeah, but along the process, God's teaching you things. Writing a book, especially when it's your first book, God's teaching you things, not just about writing a book. He's teaching you things about yourself, and he's teaching you maybe about obedience to him if he's, giving you an assignment. And so there's all kinds of things that could be going on. And, so don't necessarily beat yourself up on if you're not on the timeline that you want, but keep moving forward and celebrate. And when I say celebrate, it's just like, yes, I did it. It could be that, or I'm going to go buy myself a cup of coffee, a fancy coffee today, or I'm going to go get an ice cream cone, whatever. Just acknowledge it. Acknowledge that progress that you made. And other people, they don't know what goes on behind the scene. They don't, especially if they've never written a book, they don't know what it takes to write a book. And so just remember that. Well, yeah, that's easy for them to say. They don't understand, and that's okay. I don't need them to understand. And so this process of criticisms that come in, whatever form they might come in, whether it's a person saying something to you or an email or a bad review, it's all part of our growth process, and they're not always easy to hear. I know that I don't like it when people cut me down, but it's all really, it's a growth opportunity, and to learn how to handle that rejection, and to, go back to like the first thing I talked about is, what's the source? What's the nature of this criticism? Where is it coming from? And is it worth my time to even acknowledge it? Like I said, sometimes there might be something that you can pull from it, and other times it's just blatant attack. And you just need to write that off as, they just, something's wrong in their life, and pray for them, and move on. So yeah, so I don't have a lot today. I mean, those are just some things to consider. Let's see if I missed any. Yeah, so that's about it. Staying grounded in the word is really helpful when you're dealing with any kind of rejection or criticism. And if you need to, I mean, if you have somebody that you can confide in, that you can just talk about, especially if it was very, very hurtful, first would be to take it to the Lord, right? But sometimes you need that counsel maybe of somebody that can help you have a different perspective, because maybe you're just stuck and that somebody can give you a different perspective. So that might be another thing that you can do to help you if you're really, hurting over some criticism that you received from somebody. But 1-star reviews, I just want to say this about it. I think any book that is forever a 5-star review is probably not really all that realistic, because not everybody's going to love your book. They might think it was a really good book, but they might only think it was a 4-star, not a 5-star. There's room for improvement. So, if I see somebody's got a 4-star average, 4.5-star average, I'm okay with that. That's reality in me. Yeah, you want 5 stars when you're right out of the gate. 5 stars are great, but if your book has been out there for 5 years and you're still 5 stars, like, this is amazing, because who gets completely 5 stars all of the time? So if you get a 1-star review, welcome to the club. You are somebody, because if you haven't gotten one yet, well, you haven't got that badge of honor yet. So, there's, like I said, especially when they don't leave any kind of comment, just shake it off. It's worthless. It means nothing. Now, if you have 21-star reviews with nothing on it, you might want to contact Amazon and say, what's going on here? These people are not leaving any review. They're just leaving, a star. Is there any way I can get these removed? Because you can ask Amazon to remove a review that somebody gives you. Like I had one, they didn't comply, which was dumb, but somebody, they criticized me that I wasn't the real Kathy Bates and that I should remove my book in all this. And then they said, I haven't read the book, but I'm glad I didn't buy it. Well, then they shouldn't have been allowed to leave a review. They didn't read the book. They were just mad that I wasn't the movie star Kathy Bates. And so I contacted Amazon about it, but they didn't take it down, which is, I don't know why. It makes no sense why they didn't take it down. But anyway, so you can do that too if there's real cause for it. If you got a disgruntled friend or neighbor or ex-husband or something, maybe you can get it removed. But yeah, criticisms are hard to face. We just have to take a deep breath and don't react. And usually we just try to brush it off, like I said, sometimes that's easier said than done, but just remember, they are rejecting the Lord, not you. Really, the bottom line is that's really what's going on. They're ignorant to stuff, and I don't mean that as in a really derogatory way, just meaning they don't have the information. They don't know. So, comments, questions?
Yeah.
You mentioned it. Oh, and you go first.
Okay, thank you. About the how to handle rejection. Early in my life, I think I did not write because everything I read said you're gonna be rejected a lot. And that was always so scary. But as I've gotten older, and even reading the scriptures, we have to have a mindset that we are going to get rejected at some point in some area, about our ideas. I mean, we get rejected at home, right? About, even in our relationship, everything we think about, it's not like, yay, I'm so glad you came up with that thought. Let's do what you said, No, that doesn't exist. And this weekend is coming off the convention with the people that were running for different positions within the party. And, there were winners, but there were a lot of losers as well, and you don't You don't, I guess I really began to meditate on the fact that kind of changing my mindset that, it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to have uh, people, you're not going to get things your way. People are not going to, everybody's not going to like you in the room. Everybody, and it may not be they don't like you. It means they just like someone else better, or or they know something better. So I was just thinking about that, even scripturally. The Lord just tells us how to treat people, even He says our enemies,
Mm-hmm.
and He said it quite a bit. And He said, pray for them, don't let it become a point where we take it so hard or personally that we don't function, that we quit, that we retaliate. He tells us basically that they would know you by your love. And that's just, how we handle ourselves after
Yeah.
we've been rejected or criticized or whatever.
Yeah, that's good. Lena.
Oh, my question was about like where do you take, I mean, like you mentioned earlier on to take writing classes. I think the criticism that I received when I published my book was a bit more in the essence of the writing. Yeah, like I've got friends who say that oh, it's because I know you, so I kind of like know what you're trying to say. Yeah, and then of course I've got friends who tell me say, oh, it was a bit confusing in some parts of my book. Yeah, so I think for things like that is easier to for me, I think it was easier to receive because it's just I mean it's my first time, so it's more like handing in a composition, an essay, and a teacher coming back to you and say, you could improve on this, and
Yep.
so I took it more in that light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is okay, because what happens is I get, because Google knows what you're looking at, right? So I've got pushed like some of these master classes for writing. So
Mhm.
I'm asking like, where do you guys go and learn writing per se?
Yeah, well, and if with those, you have to be careful. What is it really about? Is it
Yeah.
really teaching you your craft, or is, a lot of times these master classes or whatever, like webinars or whatever they want to call them, they just touch the surface and then they want you to buy their product. And so, um, you know, that's something you could do and see if you like what they are actually going to be teaching. And then, if you want to, you can buy it. Yeah, like, universities a lot of times, have, you know, classes on writing, journalism or, anything like that. And those could be ways of taking a class to learn. I think Carolyn is in some group right now and about, some writing group, I think. So there can be different groups like that. I don't know, Rod or Annette, have you ever guys been in a group or taken a class or anything that was honed in on how to improve writing skills?
Yeah, I both actually. I was part of a Christian writers group for a lot of years, where we met once a month, and there was a speaker that would come in and talk about mostly how to improve your writing. Um, but then we met weekly as a group and shared our writing with each other and got feedback from each other. And so, that was one piece. The other was um, we have this is for Lena. We have community colleges, which are not full 4-year colleges, and they have a lot of good writing courses. You've got some very good, people that have published books that teach at at community colleges. They don't want to get into the full college thing, but they just want to teach a particular course, and so they'll teach at a community college. And then the other piece that I've seen is uh, just looking around your local area and seeing like when meetups came out. I found some meetups that were a group of writers, and then they would sponsor a seminar or a conference or something where, you know, they'd invite in, you know, people that were experienced writers, written a lot of books and had some acclaim and that type of thing. And they would come and teach. So those are 3 of the things I've done through the years.
Good. Awesome. Thanks. And something else you can do too is you can get beta readers or proofreaders to read your material to, you know, and that can just be, I mean, that could be a friend, that could be a family member. There are people that you can actually pay to do that, to, you know, scrutinize, your writing. Whereas an editor does that to an extent, but these are like people who are just like, yeah, you know, this was kind of hard to understand. Like you said, it was confusing how you worded this. You know, I wasn't really sure what you were talking about. You might or might not get that out of an editor, but like your beta readers or proofreaders, you know, they might, you know, pull that kind of thing out, you know, and just give you feedback on just your writing style overall, or how well you were able to get your message across. So that's another thing that you can do. As far as, you know, you write your book and before you publish it, you want someone to read it just from that angle. But as far as wanting to improve your skill, you know, then it would probably be taking some course, you know, like, yeah, we have like community courses around here too, where, you know, they send out a flyer every quarter, I think, you know, of what they're offering. They call it community ed. And, you know, you just, wherever they decide to meet up, and you just go and they, you know, have whatever class. There's all kinds of different things, but so yeah, writing someone who teaches, you know, English, you know, maybe you want to take an English class, you know, or something like that, you know. And there's different things that you can do that way, take different courses, you know, like what Rod said. That's getting, you know, you write something and then you share it and you get that feedback. And, you know, just it's hands-on kind of personal feedback rather than just kind of listening to a teacher. So, you know, a combination of them might be good too. So it just depends on how much you feel you need to really get some extra help with that. Does that help? Give you some ideas?
Yep, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other comments or anything on criticisms, rejections? All right, well, if there's nothing else, then I guess that will wrap it up for this week. I have something in mind for next week that if I get around to putting it all together to work on for you guys. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys all have going on. Rod's got a lot of exciting things, and Lena, you're getting closer to getting that book on Amazon. And you know, Annette's, I mean, Annette, what she's hobnobbing it, so she's got exciting things going on. Yeah, this is great. I appreciate all the stuff you guys shared. It makes me excited to what's to come. So yeah, keep in mind, they're not rejecting you. They are rejecting the Lord. You've got this. They don't know what God's called you to do. They weren't in on the conversation, and just say a little prayer over them and move on out. All right. That's all I've got for today. So thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. And hope that you guys can be back next week. Have a great week.
Thanks, Kathy. Great
Yep.
stuff.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. See you next
Bye,
week.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.